Welcome to the channel, guys. Today, I'm going to tell y'all the truth about overtime. Overtime is not the enemy. I know a lot of online influencers and Instagram gurus and such will try to convince the masses that if you're working a lot of overtime, then somehow that correlates to you failing at life. But in reality, overtime can help you to eliminate debt. It can also allow you to build up an emergency fund, which I think we can all agree is very important, especially when you have a family that's relying on you. It can also help you aggressively fund investments, maybe more aggressively than you would otherwise be able to, due to the extra earning capability that overtime can afford you. Overtime can also change a family's financial trajectory. And I know that to be true because I've experienced that personally firsthand. I've been in skilled trades now for over a decade, and overtime is a cornerstone of my industry. I'm an electrical lineman, and we get overtime a lot. Even when we don't want it, oftentimes we still get it, right? That's just the nature of the business. People want power. They want it all the time without interruption. But interruptions happen, and they don't care what time it is, right? It doesn't matter. I'm actually on call right now, but I got some downtime right now. So I decided to go ahead and have this conversation with y'all. I know a lot of folks, it's pretty popular these days to talk about side hustles, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't knock anybody's hustle. You got to do what you got to do to get your money up, period. You do what you got to do. You know, when we're talking about doing stuff the legal way, the right way, side hustles, nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of people may even work second jobs, maybe even possibly a third job. But instead of that, I chose a skill trade that removes any real need for a second job, right? So that's just my path. Excuse me. And that may not be for everybody. I get that. Skill trades are different. Blue collar work can be different. It may not be something that's going to be a good fit for everybody. That's okay. But I know there's a lot of talk about, oh, well, you got to buy back your time and different things like that. Rich people buy back their time, wealthy people, etc. Well, I've already been able to buy back some time. I've been able to successfully buy back my wife's time for, the past probably 7 or 8 years, because she hasn't had to have a job and work outside of the home. So that has allowed her to focus on raising our children and creating a stable and safe home environment for our entire family. And that's a big deal. That's huge. I think that's very important, especially when you start talking about having children and a family outside of just you and maybe just a wife or significant other that you're having or that you are out here providing for, right? When we start looking at that, it starts making more sense to get in a position where one of you can stay home, and instead of having to pay for childcare or daycare. Daycare is a huge cost for a lot of folks. And I get it because I've seen that too. We've done that too in our earlier years, the earlier stages of our family just starting out. We done the daycare thing. I've seen all that firsthand, and I'm sure it's even more expensive now. But you got to understand too that most successful people work a lot. I would even say all of them. So your favorite entrepreneur, your favorite millionaire, Elon Musk is now the richest man in the history of all humans, right? Net worth of over $1 trillion is what they were saying recently in the news. And you think he's just laying around on the beach sipping umbrella drinks all day or some shit? No, he's working tirelessly, endless hours. He probably doesn't sleep much. And that's going to be the same story for a lot of business owners and people that are out here, quote unquote, getting to the money, right? just because these people are millionaires and they're very wealthy and they got a lot of different things going on, that doesn't mean that they're just sitting around bullshitting all the time. They're working constantly. So you got to understand that the same people telling you not to trade time for money are often working 70 or 80 hours a week as an entrepreneur or a business owner, right? A startup, or maybe they're very successful, or maybe they're a CEO or something like that. These people still have to put in the time. So they're still trading time. They're just doing it under a different banner, if you will. Business ownership can be a great thing, and it could be a great path, even the perfect path for a lot of people. There's evidence of that, sure. But business owners work, and doctors work, and police officers work, and linemen work. Work is not the problem, though. Working without a purpose, I could see where that could be problematic, especially when we start looking at crazy debt, automobile debt, credit card debt, all these different things that tend to cripple the quote unquote middle class. It's a problem. So for me, I like to view overtime as a weapon. Excuse me. So I don't work overtime to buy a new fancy truck or a boat or motorcycles or constantly upgrade my lifestyle, right? To keep up with the Joneses or any of that other type of stuff. But me personally, my story, the way I do it, I like to leverage overtime to free my family from debt, right? That's a big deal. Debt's crippling a lot of people. Also, like I mentioned earlier, building an emergency fund. That's a big deal. I think the statistic was that a certain percentage, I can't remember right off the top of the head, but a certain percentage of Americans can't even cover a $500 emergency if it came up. And that's a problem. Again, fast tracking investments, funding retirement accounts, 401k, IRAs, all these different things, Roth, fast tracking that stuff, piling the money up as fast as you can into those investments so that you can reap the benefits of that compounding interest earlier, right? Early. And building an overall financial margin for you and the people that are relying on you. That's the way I view overtime. That's the way that I've been able to leverage overtime. And I've been very successful in doing that. Not going out buying the new latest and greatest vehicle or the new iPhone or whatever it is every time one drops. That's just not going to work for most people. Unless you're independently wealthy or something like that, a multimillionaire, then maybe you can make that work and maybe it makes sense for you. But for most of us regular people, normal people, working class people, that's just not the reality. And let me be clear, my goal isn't to work overtime forever. The goal is to leverage the overtime strategically until your finances can become resilient, right? That's the way that I'm viewing it. That's the way that I've done things. And that would be the way that I would approach this situation, the whole conversation about overtime, especially as a working class individual in the skilled trade specifically. I'm not saying don't chase your dreams. Of course you should. But you need to be able to make sure that you're covering your bases today. You got to eat today, especially, again, once you get a family involved in the conversation. Not everybody needs a podcast. Not everybody's going to have a successful clothing brand. And not everybody needs to become an entrepreneur or a business owner. That's just the reality of it. Sometimes the smartest thing a man can do is master his trade, clock some overtime, invest consistently, and provide for his family on a day-to-day basis. And that's okay. There is nothing wrong with that. I'm not against entrepreneurship or investing or building wealth or any of those things. All those things are important, and they play a major part in getting to where you're trying to be. But somewhere along the way, it appears to me that people started acting like honest work is a bad thing. And I reject that. Work can be honorable. And overtime is a tool. You have to use it appropriately and you have to check your spending. Of course, that's a whole nother conversation in and of itself, living inside your means. And if you're leveraging overtime to build a stronger future for your family, then you shouldn't let anyone on the internet shame you for that, guys, period. And I stand on that. I believe that 100%. Everybody's journey is not going to be the same. You know, everybody's stopping point's not going to be the same. That's just how it is. But as far as people trying to make you feel less than or try to shame you because you're doing what you got to do to make shit happen, don't hear it. If you enjoy this, be sure to stick around. We're going to have more conversations going forward. And I'm going to also tell you guys about one solid piece of advice that I got from one of my OGs in the trade that really resonated with me and it really stuck with me. And it was something that I implemented and it most certainly paid off for me. So maybe you'll gain some insight from that as well. We'll talk soon.